Hi, I'm Shelley Wood, and this is my tiny sewing room where I make doll clothes sewing videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make a 3-tier skirt for Pedigree Sindy dolls and similar sized fashion dolls. But before we begin, please go to my website shelleywood.com to download and print these 2 free PDF sewing patterns. There is a helpful link in the description area below. Use the pattern to cut out 3 strips of different cotton fabrics as instructed on the pattern. Along the longest edge of the ruffle, fold once and then a second time to create a hem. So you can see I'm folding once and then I'm folding a second time. Either whip stitch along this hem's edge or use a sewing machine to finish off this hem. If you need help with a whip stitch, I have a tutorial for that. Please look in the description area below this video on YouTube. Hem the entire length of the ruffle section. Next, let's work with the top section of the skirt. Along one of its longest edges, fold once, following the guide on the paper pattern, and then a second time, but you'll be using a deeper fold for the second fold. Whip stitch along the bottom edge of this casing. I prefer stitching my casing by hand because you can keep stitches close to the fold when you do that. But using a sewing machine is also okay for this. Now let's work with the ruffle section again. Gather the unhemmed edge of the ruffle, leaving a 1.5 centimeter ungathered edge on both sides of the ruffle. Also, do not tie a knot in your gather thread just yet. Pin the ruffle to the center skirt section, making sure the ruffle gathers are even as you pin it all along. Now it's important to keep your right sides together during this step. Once the whole thing is pinned in place, then you can tie a knot in your gather thread. Okay, so I'm checking to make sure that it fits, and then I tie my knot. Stitch the ruffle to the skirt's middle section. I'm using a backstitch for this. There's a link to my backstitch tutorial in the description below. Once complete, your ruffle will look like this. Gather the top of the skirt's middle section, and once again, don't tie off your gather thread until you've pinned the middle section to the top section. Now you want to pin it right sides together, but you're going to pin along the raw edge of fabric opposite from the casing that you've made. Now that I've evened out my gathers and pinned the middle section to the top section, I can knot my gather thread and then I can cut it free. Stitch the middle section to the top section of the skirt, removing the pins as you go along. Again, I'm using a back stitch for this step. Flip up the top section and it's going to look like this. Measure your fashion doll's waist for elastic and cut 1/8 inch elastic to fit with a slight overlap. Attach a tiny safety pin to one end of the elastic and send the elastic through the casing at the top. Okay, so here I have my safety pin, and you can see what 1/8 inch wide elastic looks like. Sorry for the blur there. I'm sticking some straight pins in there. My camera got back to business. Okay, and then I stick another straight pin in. Keep the straight pins in place while you fold the skirt in half like this. Okay, so here's my skirt. The pins are holding the elastic in the casing, and I fold it in half like this. And now I'm going to sew from the hem to the waist. Be sure to stitch over the elastic several times. I used a backstitch, but you could use a sewing machine. Remove straight pins and invert the skirt, just like that. And now you're ready to try it on your doll. For more free printable PDF sewing patterns for making doll clothes that will fit dolls of many shapes and all different sizes, please remember to visit my website, shelleywood.com.
What if there was an easy way to take a big doll pattern and resize it to fit a little doll, or vice versa? I'm Shelley Wood, the doll clothing designer, and in my pattern alteration class, I'm going to share with you my resizing formula.
Pattern alteration is when you take a pattern that you already own and you make changes to it. Let's say a dress doesn't fit your doll quite right. I'll show you how to create a gusset to extend the dress's bodice. Along the same lines, I'll show you how to use a doll's body measurements to lengthen and shorten shirt sleeves, and to recreate the pants patterns you already own so they will fit dolls of different shapes and sizes. Following my instructions, you'll learn how to reshape dresses and skirts, making them fuller or less full depending on the look you're going for. With this collection of more than 40 videos, you'll use my measurement guide and dozens of tips and tricks to create a full wardrobe for the doll or dolls of your choice.
I invite you to join me. We are going to have so much fun.